What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Creativ Rise Podcast. So glad you are here today. We're talking about one of the biggest myths in sales and when it comes to pricing yourself. And it can be very awkward if you don't figure out what we're going to be talking about today. So we're jamming on it. It's going to be great.
It is such a big topic. It's something we've been talking about a lot in the first week and a half of the mastermind. And it's all things pricing. It's the question of, do you lose if you say the price first? So when you're talking about budget with a client, if you are the first one to say the number, do you, quote unquote, lose?
Yeah.
And that's the question that we are going to be tackling today. So we've been hearing a lot of forms of this question. A lot of forms of this question that we get all the time is, hey, am I leaving money on the table if I say a price first? What do I do if I actually think, can the client actually bump it up like $500, $1,000 more than I would be quoting
What if
them?
I undercut myself?
If I undercut myself, or what if I say something that's completely out of their budget and I lose the deal, right? So it's this question of whoever says the number first loses, and we want to kind of bust that myth this week on the podcast.
Yeah, that's a pretty big claim. And I know maybe that's how it works in other industries. I do not for a second believe that that's how that works in the creative industry. If you are a creative business owner and you are a service-based creative business owner, meaning you have to give people quotes on your service, I don't believe that you have to say the number last. You have to get them to give you your budget first. It can be helpful if you get a client's budget before you end up giving a price, but it doesn't mean you're going to lose the deal. And we're going to talk about how to solve that. But before we get into that, we want to give you guys an awesome update on week 1 of the 6-week Creativ Rise Mastermind. It's officially over. We're recording this on Sunday. So today it's officially over. We're starting week 2 tomorrow morning, which is exciting. It's been a great week. We've had some awesome stuff go down.
So many
right
wins.
off the bat, we calculate, if you've been around Creativ Rise for a while, you know this. We calculate all the wins, share them as a community. When somebody wins, we all win because we get to learn from not only how much money they made, but how they made that money, how they secured that deal. And then I keep track of all that, and we keep a running total of where this mastermind's at. So we got 6 weeks. The record is over $400,000 in 6 weeks is what I believe it was around 10 made.
Yeah.
In the 6-week Creativ Rise Mastermind, which is incredible. So this round is going to be going for that total, but no matter if they surpass that or if they just get close, this number already is an awesome number. So
They're on track.
They're on track, yeah. So right off the bat, guys, round 12 of the 6-week Creativ Rise Mastermind, just this week, cash collected in 1 week, round 12, the 31 businesses have already secured $60,750 of cash this week. So again, if you're hanging around creatives who are not making money, you're just hanging around the wrong group of creatives. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone's killing it. We want to shout out a couple wins. This week's been really fun because we've been doing the pod calls.
Yeah.
Do you want to describe what a pod call is?
Yeah, our pod calls. So in the mastermind, we obviously have 31 businesses as a group that's going through these 6 weeks all together. We've got a community chat, we do weekly calls, all that good stuff. But in order for people to get a deeper level of accountability, we put them in a pod group. Now, this is like their accountability group with 2 other businesses that Joey and I have strategically put them together so that they can hold each other accountable throughout the entire 6 weeks. Now, in the first week of the mastermind, we jump on a pod strategy call with each pod individually. So we hop on with the 3 other businesses and we jam on their businesses individually so that then they get that individualized coaching attention, and then they also get to learn from each other's times of asking questions and learning and growing. So it's super fun.
So a couple quick wins, even just from the pod call. So this is Kai and Sean. They come from Tasmania, down in Australia. They said, so grateful to be a part of this community. Already week 1 has blown our minds, and the clarity on where we are going to take our business from this pod call is worth the investment alone, which is awesome. We love that. So keen on where the next 5 weeks will take us all. And then you got Sweet Spot Films. This is Hunter and Michaela, based in San Francisco, California. They said, just hopped off our pod call, and my gosh, I feel like we are finally clear on where Hunter and I are going with Sweet Spot. Stoked to have a plan to bring more value to our customers, which we love, and create this beautiful and amazing strategy and production agency alongside each other, because they're a team. Thanks for all the love and support. What a killer group to be a part of, which is amazing. This one I love. This is also really cool. From down in Australia, Daisy and Pine Weddings.
Yes, this is Caro.
She's awesome. Caro says there are so many wins to reply into this chat, but I just wanted to say you guys are all crushing it. So freaking inspiring. Also love the helpful conversations and answers. It literally helps me with questions I didn't even know I had. This is why we do this in a communal format, guys, because when you are alone, one-on-one support is great. And one-on-one coaching is great. We have an aspect of that in the mastermind. You get personal touch points from Christy and I. But getting to also do everything in community is really cool because as somebody else gets an answer to their questions, you get to get that value, which is amazing. So we love that. Here's a couple wins. Shout out to Zach Hand. Shout out to you, Zach. Dude's got an awesome mustache. He's killing it up in the northeast of the U.S.
That's a win.
He is a filmmaker. Yeah. He locked in. He says, hey, ring the bell, $4,000 for a service-based film I'm shooting this week. Super excited. Let's get it. Shout out to you, Zach. Sweet Spot Films. This is Hunter and Michaela. They said, we just finalized the budget with the AI chef company that we were talking about earlier this week, implementing so much of what we've learned so far, especially from our pod call. They said, yay, rounding out this week at an $8,000 week, which is incredible. Who would like to make $8,000 in a week? I'm sure you would. Shout out to Hunter and Michaela. That's awesome. And then this is an awesome win. Madison, she is from the Midwest. She said, hey, had a consult today with a dream wedding client that came on and sold for a 10-hour photo and video package with a rehearsal dinner coverage for $13,575. Shout out to you, Madison. That's awesome. So, guys, the wins are already coming in strong. Yeah. $60,750 is what this group has already made in just 7 days cash collected, which is incredible. Yeah. That's not like, oh, we've locked down retainers for the next couple of months. That's cash collected, which is a beautiful thing. So we love that.
Most of these people, if not all of these people, are approaching the pricing conversation with confidence with their clients. So if you think you're going to be missing out on money because you are the person that talks about budget first, it's just proven to be not true. So we're going to give you 3 takeaways, 3 key lessons on how to approach the pricing conversation with potential clients with confidence and clarity so that you can start creating income monthly that you want to be creating.
Yeah, so let's talk about that problem again. So most people go, Joey, you can't say the price first. Whoever says the price first on a sales call, on a discovery call, in a client meeting loses out, or you don't get the deal, or you get massively undercut, right? And that's just not true. And here's why that's not true. When you are in that headspace, you are clinging on to this ideology that if I can say my price after they've already given me a budget or given me a price, I can really squeeze everything out of them, which is important. I need to get everything out of every single client in order to make the most money. And that's just a bad headspace to be in when you are going into a sales conversation. It's a bad headspace to be going in when you are running your business. You should be excited for whatever you think the service is worth, whatever you think the value is worth. You should be excited to sell it for that. And if they had $2,000 more to pay you that you never figured out, never realized, that's okay. You're still stoked because you got what you wanted out of it. Yeah. And I'll tell you, if you can operate that way, getting into these pricing conversations is so much easier. So point number one on how to have this pricing conversation is do not shy away from talking about pricing up front. So one of the worst things you can do is when somebody says, hey, what's your price? One of the worst things you can do is say, well, I'm going to have to figure that out. I'll have to take a step back.
Well, what's your budget?
I'll have to run some numbers, or what's your budget, And one of the reasons why that's horrible is quick analogy for you. Imagine you get a door knock, it's a little 13-year-old kid walking door to door in your neighborhood. And he's like, hey, I'm trying to raise money or make money to send myself to college or play this sport this summer. And, I want to cut your grass. It'd be awesome if you were like, okay, that's awesome. I think that'd be really cool. And then he goes, cool. So can you tell me, what's your budget? And it's like, well, I don't know. Like, how much do you charge to cut my grass? I mean, you're looking at my lawn, you can see everything. And he's like, well, yeah, but I just kind of want to know your budget. He's trying to get you to say the price first. You see where I'm going with this. Like, this is just a bad way
and while
to
it might
business.
Be cute from like a 12-year-old, it's not cute from like a 25-year-old.
No,
so
or a 35-year-old.
From you, yes.
It's not cute in the actual professional world. So again, how you navigate this is when someone says, hey, what's your price? The best thing to do is hit them with a price. Because if you say to them, oh, I'm going to have to take a step back, and I'm guilty of this. I used to say this all the time. I got to take a step back out of this call, send you a follow-up email. There is no way for you to look less confident in yourself, your value, and understanding what you can do for somebody, and just, quite frankly, looking professional, because you have to take a step back and go figure it out. That is not a confident way to carry yourself. The best way to carry yourself is to approach that right up front and say, hey, talk to us about what this is going to cost. Yeah, no problem. Let's talk about it. So here's what this is going to look like. Here's what this is going to look like. Here's a range. You could fall anywhere in between here. Let's chat about that a little more, and I'll give you a more descriptive answer on what it's going to look like. Again, going back to the grass analogy, the guy says, hey, I would like to cut your grass. And you say, that's great. Awesome. And then
How
we
much is
say,
it?
how much is it? The kid would be best if he said, hey, well, yeah, I've got some standardized pricing. Typically lawns fall between this price to this price, depending on how big they are and depending on how much, like stuff I got to go around. So why don't I do a quick run around or I'll just look at it. I'll get you a firm price.
Yeah.
That's a way better way to approach that pricing conversation than running from it, right?
Exactly.
And trying to send a follow-up email.
And trying
2024 and 2025, the years you stop doing that. Cut that out.
Stop doing that. So quit trying to squeeze every single dollar out of the client, because you may end up, while you're thinking, well, what if they were willing to go $500 more than what I was charging? That's fine. But if you miss the deal because you don't appear confident, you don't appear client first, you're potentially missing out on thousands of dollars of the project itself, and also recurring work from that client, and also referrals from that client of being professional. So focus on the long game, not the short game.
Yeah.
Second tip that we want to say is that when you're in the pricing conversation, again, it's not bad to ask the client what the budget is, but here's how we like to ask it. What is your budget range, right? What is your budget range? Because you might be thinking, okay, well, where are they falling? Because they always say one number, but really they could probably go up a little bit. When you ask for a range, hey, with this project, what were you anticipating spending on a project like this? Then they're going to usually give you two numbers, which shows you their bottom and then their top line, or at least somewhat close to their top line, which is a great place to be in. And then when they ask you what your services are, go with a range. Go with a range of, hey, I really like to customize my pricing for what you need so that you're not paying for stuff you don't need. And so I want to give you, but since you want to give like a budget right now.
Yeah, you ask for a price right now, I'll give you a range.
I'll give you a range. Usually projects like this tend to be from $3,000 to $5,000 or whatever your pricing range is. Come up with a little bit of a range to give them an idea, and then you can further talk about certain deliverables in order to get to an actual pricing.
And what that specifically looks like, if Christy was the client, she said, hey, what's this going to cost? My response would be, well, point blank, I need to ask a few more questions to get really clear on what the solution looks for you guys. But typically these projects fall anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000. So why don't I ask you a few more questions, and then I'll give you a more specific price.
Or you can say, does that range seem to be where you are going to be falling?
Yeah, this is what it's going to cost. Do you guys see fit that range could be something you guys can afford? If they say no, then you don't carry on the conversation, right?
Exactly.
You got to move on to people that are going to be able to pay for what your services cost. But using range, terminology, as Christy said, is really helpful, because especially if you do need to figure a couple more things out, you don't have to act like you have a perfect number.
Yes.
You can say, this is the range, and we should have more of a conversation to feel out where you're actually going to fall in that range. That is a confident yet professional way to have that conversation. Yeah. And it also makes it look like you are, which is true, you are descriptively trying to figure out what is going to be the best solution for them.
Yeah.
Rather than just slapping a solution, copying and pasting it from somebody else and throwing it on them. So
this is just like client first pricing, which is ultimately what's going to help you build something very sustainable in the long run. So, okay, last but definitely not least, number 3, let's say the situation works out that you are out of their budget, that your range, even your lowest range right now, is not hitting where they have the ability to be able to spend, but you still want to book the client, right? Like you still want to really work with them.
You want the work, yeah.
You want the work. Here's what you should do. You don't just slash your prices. You don't just say, all right, well, let's just do it for this much, right? That doesn't also breed confidence in you. That doesn't also make it look like you gave a real number on the first part. So ditch that and do this instead. Instead of scaling back your pricing, scale back your deliverables. So go, okay, if you were going to be offering like...
Let's say 3 to 5. Let's say the same analogy we just used. If it was going to be, hey, I'm going to be $3,000 to $5,000 for this. We figured out a few more questions. Yep, you're going to be about $4,200 for this project. If you were then to say,
yes,
we can afford that, then I would say, awesome. Well, how much do you have? You would say, oh, we have 3. I'd say, great. Okay, here's what it looks like we can do for $3K.
Yeah.
Instead of this many deliverables, we're going to shrink it just a little bit to this. That fits your budget. Let's go ahead with that. Does that sound good? You're going to say,
that sounds amazing.
That sounds
Thank
amazing.
you for being so professional.
Here's the contract. Pull out your credit card, down payment, boom. There you go.
It is.
Right?
So don't scale back your pricing and scale back your deliverables.
The reason why this is so important to do what Christy's saying, where you scale back your deliverables, not your pricing, is because you do not want to become the person in your town or the person in your industry where clients behind your back are really saying, oh yeah, you should go hit up Christy. Like, she's going to give you a price, tell her you can't afford it, and she'll end up just chopping it down to whatever you can afford and still doing the same amount of stuff. You do not want that reputation, right? Yeah. Your reputation always will precede you in this business. And so it's important you protect that. And this is something we said in week 1 of the mastermind. We said this on the group call, and a lot of people went, oh my gosh, and I could see people writing it down. we said people will respect you to the amount you respect yourself, especially around the pricing conversation. So when you are a business owner and you are talking with a potential client, how you respect yourself is how they're going to respect you and respond to you and how you're talking. So if you're just slashing your prices left and right, and oh yeah, I said it was going to be $5,000, but I'll do it for 2,500. It's not a great place to be in, and your reputation will be tarnished if you do that long term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope these 3 like pricing tips were super helpful for you, that it kind of jogs your mind on, hey, you know what? Maybe I don't have to be this like slimy salesperson on a call, but I can actually just come forward with pricing that I'm excited about to get paid and present that in a really great way with flexibility in the range. So I hope this was super helpful. We're so excited to talk about these things because we really just want to see every single creative get paid to do what they love and to get paid well to do what they love. So yeah, this is a weekly podcast. We come out with episodes every single week. So you guys, we will see you next week.
Welcome. Yeah.
Super awesome. And if you've got any specific topics you'd love for us to talk about, we love when people DM us topics and questions that they want us to touch on because we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about.
Yeah, totally. Next week, you'll get an update on week 2 of the Creativ Rise Mastermind, which is going to be just as exciting, if not more exciting, than this week's update. And this week's update was awesome. So very excited to give that to you guys. Hopefully it encourages you because there are tons of creatives that are killing it, making money, and we just want to share those stories.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're like having major FOMO about not being in this round of the mastermind, don't worry. The next one is coming spring of 2025. You can join the waitlist at creativrise.com or in the show notes. You can click on that, join the waitlist totally for free. Yeah. And you guys,
this was helpful. Share it with a friend. You got somebody who you know slices their pricing, doing Fruit Ninja over here. Every time that they get, approached about maybe their budget or their pricing being too high, send this episode to them. Help them out. Help your friend out. Help a fellow creative out. Anyways, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for being here. And we just want to encourage you guys. You guys can get paid to do what you love for a living, which is really cool. And that's why you're here. So next week is going to be full of more information to help you do that. From us, the rest of the team here at Creativ Rise, hope you guys are having a great week. See you next week.